A couple weeks ago, I did a 5 minutes on heavy questions episode about what it's like to be in the service industry during a pandemic. And since then, I've been trying to create funnier, more lighthearted content just to kind of distract us from the fact that we're stuck indoors during a quarantine. The quarantine has given me a lot of time to create content, but it's also given me a lot of time to think. And with states beginning to open up, I wanted to talk a little bit about identity. My identity, at least up until recently, has revolved around bartending. And I don't think that that's particularly unique. I think for a lot of people, your identity is tied to what you do for a living. But for bartenders, I think that our identity is also tied to the type of lifestyle our work entails. A lot of us take pride in being part of that nocturnal crowd. There's a certain romantic aesthetic to being up too late and drinking a little too much and making fast money. And depending on where it is you work, bartending is kind of on that edge of legality, which can feel kind of cool, if nothing else. Without the structure of going into the bar every day, without the structure of work, I've been feeling pretty out of sorts. But I'd imagine that service industry people are actually dealing with not working a little better than everyone else. We're kind of used to our schedule being in flux. It changes week to week, and sometimes we're not called into work for a couple days, maybe even a week at a time. But that also kind of breeds a certain amount of baggage. If you're not called into work for longer than a week, it feels like you're being replaced. It's kind of a way for the industry to fire us without actually firing us. It says, it's about time to get another job. And the worst part about the quarantine making us feel like maybe we're being replaced is that we might actually be getting replaced. The restaurant industry is going through an identity crisis right now. Some restaurants are closing, some have changed over to kind of a market structure, and some are finding out they can survive without a full front of house staff. So when restaurants begin to reopen, there's not going to be enough hours to go around. And the positions that we go back into won't be the ones that we left. There's going to be new rules in place. Rules about max capacity, rules about social distance, rules about masks and gloves and curfews. And with all this increased scrutiny, or this increased awareness of what's going on in restaurants, I think there's going to be a change to that gritty after-hours, fast money lifestyle. And if I'm being honest, that might be for the best. Maybe not, but maybe. But what I do know is change is inevitable. And if change is happening in our industry, we should be a part of it. The pandemic has brought to light a lot of things that need to be addressed in our industry. Things like a lack of health care, things like a livable wage, hourly, and how that interacts with unemployment. Things like the dangers of contamination or being overworked. And addressing all of these things might mean legitimizing our industry a little bit. It might mean more accurately reporting our tips or more accurately tracking where product goes. It might mean unionizing so that we can demand better working conditions. I don't know if this is what's right for the industry, but what I do know is that if bartending does go completely legitimate, I'll miss the old way of doing things. I will miss that after hours, edge of legality lifestyle. But I can also say definitively that change is already happening. And if change to the industry is inevitable, and if what bartending is changing, then I think we as bartenders ought to be the ones to steer it. Hey friends, As you can tell, I changed the format to my 5 minutes on heavy questions series. I don't know if that's what I'm going to continue to call them, but if you like the change, let me know in the comments below. If you didn't like the change, let me know in the comments below. I'll see what I can do. That having been said, if you like this type of content, if you think these types of conversations are important, maybe go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. And if you'd like to tip this out of work bartender or support my work so that I can have more conversations like this, I do have a Patreon page. I will put the link in the description below, along with all the other salient links to my social media. And as always, my name is Dave. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.